Hey everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of Storytime at the Rubus. Sharla and I are recording this from another location. Where are we at, Sharla?
We're in Daytona Beach, Florida.
And it is definitely not spring break here right now.
Oh, it's definitely not.
We are probably the youngest people in our hotel, which is the first for me in a very long time. But that's okay. You know, it's not spring break here. Everybody is kind of getting their snowbird trips in.
Yeah. The weather is definitely not spring break weather either.
It kind of was yesterday. It was sunny for a little bit, and we took a walk on the beach. Not warm enough to go swimming or anything yet. So this has been a fun road trip for us so far. We're headed to Orlando tomorrow to go check out Galaxy's Edge at Disney. And you have been very kind to me to oblige me in that. That's the main reason we're down here.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So we talked in a past episode a few weeks ago about road trip stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
This has been a big one for us. Usually you and I are flying somewhere. We haven't been together in a car this long for a while. We have been on a bit of a tight schedule, but usually on a road trip we like to just kind of wander around and find things. We'll be able to do that today on the way to Orlando. What's kind of your favorite thing to do on a road trip like this?
My favorite thing? I like to play car games.
Car games? Oh, you always asked me the 20 questions
20
game.
questions.
Can you explain that?
Everybody knows what 20 questions is. You say, I'm thinking of a person, place, thing, restaurant, or whatever, and then the other person tries to guess what it is using 20 yes or no questions.
Half the time when we play that, I usually think of something very specific on the farm. So yesterday, I was trying to think of Calliope.
Calliope.
Oh my gosh, I never get it right. Anyways, you didn't guess it. I think in the past I also guessed like Jake and Snake's Christmas barn and some other random things on the farm. And you always have a hard time. Maybe I should guess something more general, right?
Well, that's because you don't answer the questions right. But
I
whatever.
don't? Okay.
Whatever. Our car games usually turn into arguments, so.
But good ones, yeah. So we were talking about road trip stuff. We know that we have a lot of friends that are coming from all over the country to Bonnaroo. Sometimes they have like a really super long drive. And we got a message from a friend of ours, Danny Roo. She sent a DM to the Rubus Twitter. I'll read this. She says, "Hey guys, my name's Danny. Just listen to the latest podcast. We travel 14 hours to Roo every year." Wow, man, that's a lot. "We keep ourselves busy with music and games, but most of the cool stops we know are in Florida." That's where we're at. "They're from Miami, just down the road from where we are. Once they get to Georgia and Tennessee, they're absolutely clueless. This year they'll be sleeping at a hotel in Mont Eagle, Tennessee, if you guys know of anything cool around that area or nearby. Or also things in Georgia. We love nature spots the best, also antique stores, and of course food and drink spots. We stopped at a cool waterfall last year somewhere in Tennessee and hope to do something like that again. Any input would be so super appreciated. I can share any Florida hot spots if needed." I should have talked to her already. Yeah. So we actually just went part of that way ourselves. We came all the way through Georgia. We stopped in Atlanta overnight, but then drove all the way from there, all the way down here to Daytona Beach. We didn't get to stop much of anywhere because it was pouring rain yesterday. It was terrible. I think we only stopped at a Kroger to get a coffee from Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah, it was a monsoon yesterday.
So Georgia, I can't tell you a lot about. I haven't really been through the area anywhere south of Atlanta. Now, if you're traveling from Florida and coming through Atlanta, there are definitely a couple of cool spots I would recommend. There is a famous burger joint on the north side of Atlanta called the Varsity.
The Varsity.
Yeah, that's a long inside joke. If you ever do a flight and you go through Atlanta like so many people do, there is a Varsity in there too if you go to the international terminal. What are some other Atlanta hot spots you would recommend?
Oh, there's tons of Atlanta hot spots. You probably know them better than I do.
Well, another one of my favorites is everything around the Atlanta Braves Park. Anyone who's followed us on Twitter knows that, a notch or two after Bonnaroo, another thing we're big fans of are the Braves. So we go over there a couple of times a year. There's a lot of cool stuff in an area called the Battery that's just outside the baseball park. There's a lot of barbecue joints and bars and restaurants and some other fun things. That one's really good. And there's a cool mall just across the street from over there. Can you think of anything else in Atlanta?
I mean, it really depends on how much time you have, but the Georgia Aquarium is super cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite aquarium.
If you have a day after Bonnaroo,
Yeah.
if you're not too tired, that would be a really cool spot, Danny.
I actually like it better than the Chattanooga
Oh,
aquarium.
them might be fighting words. We got a lot of friends in Chattanooga. I like them equally. Both the Chattanooga Aquarium and the Atlanta Aquarium are cool in their own ways. The Atlanta Aquarium has the largest salt tank in the world, a saltwater tank. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest. It's really cool because you go through a tunnel underneath the water where you can see sharks and manta rays and all kind of cool
So
fish.
here's something that's in Atlanta. Isn't Pontoon Brewing there?
Yes, they are in Alpharetta, not that far from the Braves
Yeah.
Park. And I think
that's
we're going to be over there in a
Yeah.
few months.
Of course, there's Six Flags.
Six Flags I could give or take,
Yeah,
honestly.
well, at this age.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll take that back. I think we are going to Six Flags in a few months for Brooklyn's birthday. And I do enjoy the roller coasters. There is a giant roller coaster called the Goliath, I think, that it doesn't go upside down or anything, but it sprawls almost the entire park and goes like 70 miles an hour. You rode that with me a couple years ago. Or did you? Did you chicken out?
No, I didn't ride that.
Me and Aaron rode it, and I brought a GoPro on board, and it was ridiculous. I think we're going to do that again in a few months for Brooklyn's birthday when we're over there to go to Pontoon Brewing for the beer release as well. So that's some cool stuff in Atlanta. Danny also mentioned a waterfall. Now, I don't remember, but there is a state park that's just within a half hour or so of Manchester where there is a really cool waterfall and hiking trails. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I know it exists. Danny, that is probably where you went. And that's something I would recommend for a lot of Bonnaroovians too if you're doing a long road trip. Is find what state parks are along the way. Because those are cool to like to stop, have a picnic, take a short little hike, stretch your legs. Are there any that you can think of within driving distance of Manchester?
Henry Horton State Park.
Well, that one wasn't that great, to be
No,
honest.
don't go there.
Yeah.
No, that's within driving distance, but don't go there.
If you're coming from
That was a field.
Yeah, I mean, I love state parks, but that one...
That's one I don't recommend.
There are some better ones. If you're coming from the west, there is Davy Crockett State Park in lower middle Tennessee. That's really nice.
I do have one recommendation, though. There's this cute little town, and it is within driving distance of Manchester. It's about an hour south of Manchester, Ardmore. And Ardmore straddles the
state line
of Alabama and Tennessee. And you can actually drive down the street, and one side is Alabama and one side's Tennessee, which is cool. And the town itself is just whatever, small town. But Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, they have this huge giant flea market. I think they have it every weekend, but
those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the big ones. But every weekend they have this flea market called Dog Days, and it's like super like antiques and just tons and tons.
And
tons
it's
of stuff.
Very, very southern.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
put it that way.
keep in mind, you're gonna see some.
I get the feeling that people already know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're gonna see some things.
Some local flair.
Some southern flair.
Yeah, but it is a cool place to go because there's a lot of crazy, fun,
But if you're looking for
things
antiques,
you can find.
yeah.
There's usually a guy that sells vinyl records and old tin signs. That's really cool. I like that one.
Yeah, we've got like a bunch of old like music posters and stuff that we bought there.
Yeah. So those are a lot of the things that we know of kind of in our area that are cool stops on the way to Bonnaroo. And I think I mentioned this when we kind of brought this up a couple of weeks ago. If you are coming through Nashville, like I know a lot of people are, I can't recommend enough to stop at Third Man Records.
Yeah.
It's just south of downtown. It is the store and recording studio that Jack White owns. And they've actually opened it up a lot in the past few years. It used to just basically be a little cubby hole where they sold a couple of vinyls. But now there's a lot of other cool things. Like you can make your own record. There's a phone booth where you can come in with a guitar and record something. Our friend Brandon did that some years ago. What else is in there? There's all kind of crazy stuff. It's Jack White's place, so it's basically like going into Willy Wonka's. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun, like little memorabilia pieces from old White Stripes days. They have, for example, the actual Legos that the White Stripes used in one of their music videos. And I hear every once in a while, if you go in there, Jack will just be hanging out. I've been in there dozens of times. I've never seen him yet, but one of these days it'll happen. We got to see him in 2014 on the What stage. That'll do. That was one of the best shows that I ever saw. It was so fun. Hey, so something else I wanted to talk about, Sharla.
Yes.
We are getting closer and closer to June, and we are starting to make plans for what we will be doing for the Rubus event this year. So we have a lot of new friends in the past year or so. Just to give you a quick history. 2 years ago, we hosted our very good friends out of Nashville, Repeat. There is a past podcast episode where we kind of told the story about that if you haven't heard that. They are kind of a surf rock punk band out of Nashville that played a show for us. We made a makeshift stage next to the bus. We rigged 2 generators together, and about 500 people showed up. It was amazing. It kind of became a Bonnaroo legend, for good or bad, after that point. We were going to do a big party last year, but the traffic on Wednesday kind of put an end to that, and plus there was a big storm. So we didn't logistically make the event happen that we wanted to last year because of events outside of our control. But our big event last year was the wedding of our good friends, Brittany and Kevin, on top of the bus. This year we have learned our lessons, and we are actually going to be doing our event on Thursday. So we haven't ironed out all the details yet, but I wanted to tell everybody just a little bit. So it's going to be on Thursday around 1, 2, 3 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood. We haven't decided yet. But it will be when most of everyone has arrived, and it will be before music starts at Bonnaroo, usually about 4 or 5 o'clock on Thursdays these days, right? It is going to be kind of like a big welcome to Bonnaroo event. So we want you to come down, and you're going to meet everyone that you haven't seen in a year. We're going to have a lot of folks from Camp Red Roo, Roo Fitness. I think Brad and Barry from the What Podcast are going to come down and hang out with everybody. And we will have some type of live performance, whether it be a band or a DJ. That is in the works. If you are a campground DJ, drop us a line. We'll be deciding who we'd like to have play us some music in the next couple of months. If it works out, I want to have our buddies from Huntsville, Seeds, play some music. We don't know if they're going to be there or not. But anyway, that just to say is we're going to have some kind of musical performance. And also, if you are a first-time Bonnarooian, or if you know of someone that is, we especially want to send out a big invitation to them, because this event is also designed for them.
Oh, for sure.
So we want them to be able to come down and get tips and be able to meet new friends right before, the actual event starts. So we want to kind of pass on, the code and like all the traditions. So for example, we'll tell new people about the silly Bismarcky song that's kind of the intro for most of our podcast episodes, just stuff like that. So how's that sound to you, Sharla?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So more details to come in the coming months as we lead up to Bonnaroo on that. And if you are with a Bonnaroo group that would like to be involved, to come, have some type of presence there and talk with new people and, make something else fun happen, drop us a line on any of our social media outlets, and I would love to talk with you to help make it happen. We'll really get into the nitty-gritty of planning that in the next month or two, and it is going to be fun. I don't want to say a lot yet because there isn't anything specifically planned, but the new group area around the new plaza, I forget what number it is, that is going to be really fun. Yeah, so we'll talk more about that later. Hey, so one other thing I want to do real quick in our bonus episode, Sharla. So while you were asleep this morning in our hotel room, I was just bored and got into a Wikipedia hole.
Okay.
That often happens to you, right?
Yeah.
So, you know that there is a history of the bus prior to us owning it, right?
I got you.
Did you know about the history of these kind of buses in general?
Of schoolies?
Well, not of schoolies, but kind of like
School buses?
music.
Hippie buses?
Yeah, hippie buses.
Oh, the further bus.
What do you know about the further bus?
I know everything about it.
All right, so can you tell me the brief history of further?
Well, it was Ken
Casey?
Ken Casey?
Yeah.
Casey? Yeah, however you say his name. I can't remember. It was the bus back in the 60s. That's about.
So
I mean, I could BS some stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Well, no. Well, I actually spent some time this morning reading about it, and it turns out that it might be the grandfather of the Rubus in a weird way.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So a lot of people know about some of the vague history of
the
it.
Merry Band of Pranksters.
Yeah. It was featured in a book by Tom Wolfe called The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, which you can take from the title what all that implies. But it was basically this bus that was from the 30s or 40s that Merry Band of Pranksters, kind of basically, the previous version of the Rubus crew, I suppose, painted all the psychedelic stuff on the further bus. And they wanted to make a film about traveling the country. And the last stop that it took was at Woodstock
Yeah.
in 1969.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can look at a lot of old pictures of Woodstock, and you can see some of the merry pranksters and their friends sitting on top of the further bus, on top of the hill at Woodstock, where they could see the performances from there. So they were able to watch, like, Jefferson Airplane and Jimi Hendrix. It's fun for me to look at this history of, like, Further and Woodstock to realize that what we and our friends are doing is not new. There is actually a very long history of this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bonnaroo is kind of like the grandchild of Woodstock, and I guess, like, the Roo Bus is kind of the grandchild of Further in a way.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, okay, we're not traveling the country without jobs and, like, fearing getting pulled over by the police or anything. But, I mean, there's still some of that legacy left in it. So, something I found out is there were actually 2 Furthers, right? So, there was the first one that went to Woodstock.
Okay.
And then a decade or so after that, there was a second Further
Okay.
that was finished around the 90s. So I encourage anybody to look up the history of this and read more about it. It was informational for me in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I just feel really cool and really empowered knowing that, like, what we're doing isn't new and it's part of kind of like a long history, right? I told Brooklyn, she's not here, I told Brooklyn that I wanted her to paint, like, a new little mural on the back panel of the bus for this year. Wouldn't it be cool to have some kind of tribute to the OG to Further in some way?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it kind of is, because there's psychedelic stuff inside and out. We have done some other small tributes. We put Dr. John's hat on the little panel above the driver's window, because he passed away shortly before Bonnaroo last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He basically, this is another bit of fun history, he basically invented the word Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
So there was a song that he wrote called Destatively Bonnaroo that was, it came out in the 70s, I think, where he basically invented the term. Well, maybe he didn't invent it, but he popularized it. It's Creole for a really good time, basically. So that's why there's kind of some Creole or New Orleans tributes at Bonnaroo, like the parades or the campgrounds, like you'd have parades through New Orleans. And Jake and Snake's Christmas Barn is kind of based on an actual venue that used to be down in New Orleans. Maybe it still is. I'm not sure. I need to read up on that too. But this is fun. I love knowing that what we and our friends doing is part of a larger story that came before us and will probably continue after us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that is basically what I wanted to go over in this bonus episode. These are always a little freewheeling where we just BS with you guys. So I'm very excited. Today we're going to do a little road trip for Florida, and tomorrow I'm going to Planet Batuu in the Star Wars universe with you.
Awesome.
And we are going to go get lit in the cantina.
Yes.
I'm not going to be happy until a stormtrooper escorts me out. All right. Well, thanks for playing along with us, guys. We just want to have a little fun, do a bonus episode. We'll do a real one next week. We're going to have some fun guests, and we are starting to get into real Bonnaroo season. It's time to start planning out what we're all going to be doing and starting to get ready. Just, 4 months to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we're going to have fun in Florida. We hope you're having fun wherever you are. Talk to you soon. Get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.